It's so up that you would ever do that. Like, why? It's just, unless it's like directly relevant, right? Unless it's directly relevant to something that's being said. Why the would you ever out somebody's like personal sex shit like this? It's so weird. I will qualify everything I just said. If it is the case that he was bringing up personal sex shit, then she would have justification too, if that is happening.
I had no friends to talk to. I didn't talk to any of the friends I had at the time because I just don't like having friends. And I didn't have anyone that close that I could confide in. So I had to sit there.
I didn't talk to any friends because I don't like having friends. Tier 4, Schizo Post. Yes. What's up?
How's my microphone?
Okay. Are you Australian?
No.
Oh, okay. I got a little worried there for a sec. Okay. What's up?
I wanted to ask you how you start your manifests. Like, are you starting research and write down your thoughts along the way, or do you
for like the little manifestos that I do?
Yeah.
Usually what I'll do is I'll just write some very broad things. So my first draft will usually be like just like 20 bullet pointed items. It'll be like I think for Keffels it was like Catboy Ranch, do-it-yourself HRT. It'll be stuff like that. The next draft will be like an outline where I try to get like the approximate structure in. And then the next draft will be the outline plus research, where I'll just do a ton of reading and research about a bunch of things. I'll see what fits into the outline and what doesn't. And then the next draft will be like the outline with the research incorporated in the appropriate parts. Then I'll look at the extra research I have. If it's relevant or if it's excluded, then I'll dump that. And then the final outline will be like, the next part will just be like a first draft. And then there'll be a final draft of the writing, basically. Yeah. Did that make sense?
Oh, God. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, yeah.
It's a lot of work, a lot of iteration, it's why I get so annoyed when I see like people will get called on to argue about videos they've done and they don't know anything about it. And I don't know I don't know what their process is for doing videos. Like if I get really specific for Keffel, so what happened was the first quote unquote draft is literally just me writing down like, here's like 15 to 20 things that I've heard about, right? So I'll write down those topics. Then in the next thing, I'll do an outline where I'll write out like, okay, section 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? And it's not like set in stone, but it'll be that outline so that I can kind of roughly organize what I want. And then on that outline, I'll start doing a ton of reading and research. So for every bullet pointed item that I had in the last thing, I'll Google, I'll Wikipedia, I'll watch videos, I'll watch streams, I'll copy paste links of all of the research I have into the bottom of that document. So I've got links and quotes and links and quotes and links and quotes, and I've got a good understanding of everything that I'm talking about. Then for the next outline, what I'll do is that first outline that I'll transfer that over, and then I'm going to take all the research that I did on the bottom, and I'll see where it fits into the top, to the part up top, right? Like what research did I do that bolsters the points up top, or what research have I done that contradicts something? So then I'll get rid of those points. Are there some parts that are more substantial than others? Do I want to reorganize the document? Like that's typically my approach to things. So if you're going to ask me about, like parts of a work that I did, hold on. If you're going to ask me about like parts of work I've done, I'm going to be able to talk a lot about it because I've done a lot of research and a lot of background in terms of reading for whatever it is that for whatever it is that I'm doing a paper on or whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
So because it's good. There is a drama. I'm like a personal drama from a YouTuber that I know, and I wanted to like deep dive into it. And I started to watch videos from the other party and like some basically I watched a transcript and gave me like the little things she said from the transcript. And I'm like way too much into researching so that I don't even know what I'm like thinking about the whole thing.
So when I first start doing research on a new topic, I usually stay the fuck away from compilation videos, and I'll try to get like primary or secondary sources. So I'm either going to watch the videos that were actually put out by the people that I'm writing the thing on, or their actual tweets, or maybe people like interacting with those people. But very rarely will I ever go through like compilation videos. So like when I'm doing like my Keffels research, I'm never going to start out with like, okay, let's do some research. Here's like, this guy made a 15-minute video compiling all the bad things about Keffels. Because whatever research they did for their video, I want to do for mine, because I don't trust other people to do research. Because a lot of the times they're really biased, they go into things with their own preconceived notions, and then whatever compilation video they made is going to be heavily tainted. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to the source. Like it's her I'm writing on. Like it's not some compilation, it's her.
Okay, sure.
So it's her videos that I'm going through, like 45 minutes, 15 minutes videos, and I like go through all of them and write out what she says, what I wanted to like, not just what I wanted to hear, but specifically to the points that I wanted to like address. But I want to be like unbiased. Like I'm biased because it's a he said she said situation. It's I'm more for him, but I want to be unbiased so that it helps him. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Because it doesn't really
Hold on, is
help
this
him
I need
when
a I need like is this like a rape accusation or what is I need more?
No, it's a relationship drama.
Okay, does it matter that much if you're like or okay.
It's okay. Let's fill you in. It's a big thing in the goth community, so I don't know if you even heard of it.
Yeah, super involved in the goth community. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, tell me. Okay, go ahead, catch me up.
It's basically about Jake Munro and Toxic Tears, and they were together like when they were 16, and since then, and they are like I don't know how long, like 12 years they were together.
Okay.
And they broke up, and the first video was from Jake saying, hey, we broke up, but we don't want to make it like on the internet, so please stop, don't talk about it, don't do anything. Like he didn't talk about her in any video, any live stream. He basically never mentioned her again.
Okay.
And she made her videos, and like she was in a studio and started making her videos, like she got kicked out and stuff, and basically mentioned here and there little things like he kicked her out, and you could get a narrative from her videos. That's what I researching at the moment, what she said in this videos. But, and that sparked a lot of hate against Jake because he got so many hate comments about a year, and it was he lost subscribers.
So are we
and
just trying to prove that
lost,
like he didn't kick out some girl or whatever?
no, not that he didn't kick out, but that he wasn't like he made a video. Was like 2 hours long where he explained everything. He said he told everyone what happened in the relationship and everything, and it's that's Jake Munro you're watching at the moment.
Yeah, I figured. Okay, go ahead.
That's sorry. Yeah.
My sign it says
You
his
Googled
name. And
Jake
everything.
Munro. That's Jake Munro.
Yeah, I imagine that's him. Okay, yeah, he's been getting wrecked on subscribers for almost a year now. Jeez, how long ago did this go back?
Year.
About a year, you said?
About a year. A year ago, he
This probably happened in like
out.
December of 2021 or sometime around there, I guess. But,
Yeah.
okay.
And that was like he explained in a 2 hour video why. Because he got like hate comments, he abused her and stuff like that, and he explained what exactly happened. And I personally, but I'm biased because I like him.
Mm-hmm.
I personally felt like his video was like a explanation to the comments, not like to bash her. And she made a response video, emotionally response video in 3 hours. Felt like a 3 hour emotional manipulation, basically. So
Okay.
I'm trying to like, because the whole narrative at the moment is poor Toxic Tears, fuck Jake Munro. And I feel like it's not really deserved. But I want to be unbiased because it doesn't help him if I like make a hit piece. You know what I mean?
Are you like a member of this community?
Yeah, I watched Jake since like 4 years.
Or I'm sorry, let me
I don't
rephrase that.
want...
Are you like a YouTuber or something in this community?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not a YouTuber. I don't make YouTube videos. I normally no, I normally don't engage in anything. I'm writing in like a commentary community sometimes, but I'm not really engaged in that.
Okay.
It feels like injustice to me.
Yeah, this just seems like a really stressful thing to get involved
Yeah,
in.
it is. It is. So
And you're
I'm
also you're gonna be
still-
trying to prove like
who is abusive in a relationship I wasn't in.
yeah, and
that's-
even like
that's-
the definitions for what is abuse are probably gonna be like highly
Yeah.
contested.
Yeah. It is, and it's basically about the mental health shit. Like, he has problems with anger issues, or he had, and he was open about it. And
Okay.
she has ADHD,
Okay.
so everyone is like poor, toxic tears with her ADHD, and he is, and nobody is like, everybody is like, he has anger issues, so he has to be abusive. So. I feel like they
Was there
say
any
that.
evidence of him like being abusive or?
He smashed doors and walls, but he admitted to that, and he said that he did. He said that it was wrong and that he worked on it and it did get better.
Is that all he did was smash doors and walls? He never hit anybody, or?
Yes. Yes.
So why does
According
everybody?
to him.
Why does everybody? Well, according to him, does the girl allege something different that she got hit, or?
No, she specifically says no, he never hit me, but she cries, and I felt like she was implying it in the other videos
Okay,
and
wait.
stuff.
Can you link me her the most pertinent video? I'm curious. Or give me the name
Her
of it. I can-
first
Wait, what's the most
Toxic
important
Tears.
one? Okay.
Most
Toxic
important one.
Tears, Jake Munro. This one. His lies, his abuse, and finally telling the truth.
That's her.
Hey guys,
That's her 3-hour
Oh my
emotional
fucking God.
response.
Can you give me like a timestamp in here for like the most relevant part, or?
That's oh.
Okay, I'm gonna speed through some of this, okay? And then if you're still here, we can talk about it, okay? I'm curious now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, bye. The goth community.
look like shit, don't really care. This is obviously a video in response to Jake Monroe's video, my ex. This is not, I'm afraid, going to be as, organized and laid out as his, because I'm having to make this 5 seconds after I finally finished his ridiculously long video. I'm saying ridiculously long, this could easily end up being just as long.
You don't have to make any video right now, but okay.
Because there was a lot. So yeah, I didn't have time to plot and plan and try to make this into some,
Ooh,
trying
call
to
him a
provide all of this
plotter.
evidence to try to
Uh-oh.
validate lies and exaggerations and manipulations. So basically, I've just sat and watched that video because, which I didn't want to have to do because I don't particularly enjoy even seeing him at this point in my life. But I obviously need to know exactly what's being said so I can defend myself, because I knew right away it would be full of lies, and it was lies, exaggerations, manipulations, and people have told me not to make this video, but I have to. Like, if I'm being lied about by him and he is purposely trying to drag me down because he's angry that he hasn't been doing as well because people are angry about what he did, like, I can't just not do anything and let people believe that about me and potentially let my channel be damaged by his lying. So I've sat. I'm so sorry if this isn't as clear and concise as people would like, because as I say, I know it's making it one emotional probably isn't a great idea, but my reason for doing so is because I'm not going to be able to calm down until I get this out. So that's one. Two is because I don't want to forget anything. As I was watching the video, I made little notes. But if I leave it a couple of days, then I might I might forget exactly what the note was about. I won't have to go back and watch this video again. And three, I just want to get out as quickly as possible to minimize any damage from what
Okay,
he's
all of these are just all of this rationale so far. I'm not saying whether good is good. The other guy might be a piece of shit, I don't know. But all of her rationale so far has been horrible. I'm gonna forget things, bro. Write them down. It's not that hard. I have to respond immediately. No, you don't. You can wait 1 or 2 days. It's not a big deal. Your channel's not gonna go down instantaneously. All of the examples given so far are really dog shit. But are the rationale for making this immediately. But okay, let's see. What do we got?
trying to do, because that is what he's trying to do. He's finally gotten angry that he's maybe not doing as well at the minute, and I've been out living my life and finally having a good time, and he's pissed about that and wants to drag me down, and I'm tired. It's been over a year and I want him to leave me alone. His video starts out with Olaf talking about his channel popularity and ranting and raving about how he did it all on his own. I honestly don't really care about that. If he wants to deny the impact I had on his channel, he can, but a lot of his newer viewers won't know about it, but a lot of people who've been watching for a longer time, they know that before he ever got big, I was the one who was big on YouTube, and I kind of stepped back a bit for reasons that were really mostly to do with him. That was a big part of what knocked me, because I used to be much more on top of YouTube. I'm obviously not anymore, and I've never managed to get it back, which breaks my heart because I still love doing it. And it's not like I don't like it anymore, I've just never been able to recapture what I used to have for it, and he was a big part of what did that, and I'll try to remember to talk about that later in the video. Yeah, he goes on and on, trying to show graphs and all to prove that I had nothing to do with his popularity. At the end of the day, I did to some extent. He did end up getting a viral video that kicked off, which is generally how YouTube channels get big. It's purely by luck. You can put in, I'm not denying he put in hard work to his channel, he did. But, you know, with the thing with YouTube is there are people who can put in no effort at all and get stupidly famous, and there are people who can work hard for years and years and years and get nowhere, because at the end of the day, the last thing that YouTube popularity comes down to is luck. One video into the algorithm, bam, you're a success. Like, you know, that's generally how it goes.
It's not really true, but okay.
Disparage him anyway. Like, he did work hard on his channel, and, you know, I'm aware of that. I'm not gonna be like, oh, he didn't, he just got lucky. He got luck the same way I got luck, and it happened a lot faster for me, like, you know, so I hadn't even been working on mine as well because it was luck, you know, like, the reason it happens so fast for me is luck, but I'm not gonna say he didn't put in work. He absolutely did. He did work very hard on his channel. He's a very work, fame, and money-driven person. I, unfortunately, am not. All that stuff, like, I wish I had more of a drive for that, but, like, success, I guess, would be, like, the better word, like, you know, like, having this drive to be, like, successful, and I do wish like, you know, that is something that I will say is respectable about Jay, because he does have this drive to be successful, sometimes to a detriment. He will stomp all over everyone to get that success, which is unfortunate. But yeah, like, you know, something I wish I had more myself was, like, a drive to be successful, but I'm unfortunately driven by things that are valid, but not things that are useful in a career. You know, I'm driven just by wanting to be happy, and for me that's, you know, like, spending time with friends and, like, you know, working on my little crafty things and all. And those are, like, you know, nice things to be driven by, but again, not useful if you're trying to have a career, so that is something unfortunate about me, but that is just the way I'm wired. But yeah, so there's a lot about that. I don't really care if he wants to think that I had no input. Sure. Oh goodness, everything's kicking off. There's a little bit about him, you know, like what started him wanting to break up with me is how he's maturing and had better mental health. I saw very little evidence of that. He said I never cleaned anything ever and he wanted a 50-50 split. So I have always been open about the fact that I'm messy. I am a messy person, and I really, really struggle with cleaning due to ADHD. Saying I literally never ever clean anything ever is an exaggeration. Like, I'll say, you know, it wasn't often, but, you know, I would try. There'd be a lot of times where I'd sort of, like, start cleaning and I wouldn't be able to finish because I'd get to a certain point where I was just overwhelmed and couldn't figure it out. I did try. There were times that, you know, I cleaned the whole kitchen and things like that, but it wasn't very often, and I admit that, and it's something I struggled with, and it's something I'm pretty sure I've cried about on my channel before, like, it is something that has always really badly affected me. Like, I get it. I get that he only goes into how it affected him. You know, humans in general are selfish. Even throughout the relationship, he never acknowledged how badly it affected me, you know, like, and I think he even says it in the video, I'll get to it at the point in my notes, but he always basically took the symptoms of my mental health issues, being depression, anxiety, and the ADHD, as this massive mark of disrespect. It always came, you don't respect me, you're doing this because you don't respect me, you're doing this on purpose because you have no respect for me. No matter how many times I told him, I do respect you, it's not that. This is just something that I really struggle with. And I would cry and beat myself up and fucking hit myself for being that way. Like, if he thinks it affected him badly, like, he doesn't know what it was like to be in my head. Like, it ruined my life more than anyone's, you know, because, like, not only am I having to live in the mess that both of us created, by the way, but certainly big part of it, me, I admit that. Not only am I, like, having to live in that, have him scream at me and make me feel like the worst person in the world for it, but then I'm also in my head like, wow, I am the most useless person on this earth. I can't even do something as basic as just tidying up. That doesn't feel good. Like, that is a huge flaw in me that I still hate about myself. I'm still messy. My house is nowhere near as bad as it used to get when me and Jake lived together because we both created a lot of mess. And, like, he makes it always, like, I think he even said at one point, like, he came home and cleaned everything. That's not the way things worked. Generally, for most of the relationship, we would both make a fucking horrendous mess. Like, we lived in absolute squalor. It was terrible. It was really, really bad. Like, it was gross. We would both make this massive mess. No one would clean. He would get more and more angry, I'd get more upset, and then he would blow up, scream at me, and then he'd eventually clean. Usually by, like, a lot of it was just, like, shoving things into boxes and stuff and hiding stuff out of the way. So nothing was ever really clean. It was just sort of hidden, which stressed me out because my idea of cleaning is I want things to be organized and put in specific places so I can find things. And if everything's just shoved into boxes, then I'm so overwhelmed.
Okay, I'm trying to be more open about my mind reading, okay? Because we're doing that for now. I'm not letting people get away with much shit. Okay. The way the human psychology works is when you have a problem with somebody and you're presenting that problem to another person, you usually always open, psychologically, you're inclined to open with the biggest things, okay? Let's say that somebody comes up to you. Hey, I need to talk to you about John. He's super fucked. Really? What did he do? Okay, here's my 2 issues with John, okay? 1, he never fucking cleans the bathroom, okay? He always, like, leaves his shit all over the place. It's crazy. And then also he raped my best friend. Nobody in the history of all of mankind has ever done that in that order. It would never be that way. You're always leading with the most, like, dramatic thing. John is a fucking rapist, okay? And he's filthy to live with. That's a way more natural form of human conversation. Pisco is dead wrong when he says it's a generalization. Well, or I guess he's correct in that I'm generalizing, but 99% of the time, this is where my mind is going, okay? And it's almost always going to be correct. If somebody is making a video like this, okay, and I could be wrong, we'll see. We'll watch more of it. But when your lead off is shit like, we're very messy and we're messy people and blah, 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 blah. This is your side of the story. You have the ability to tell the story here. And we're leading with weak fucking weako shit like this. Makes me feel like there's not much you have to say. But could be wrong. We'll find out. We'll keep listening. Just something to consider. When people, yeah.
That I can't, like, tackle it. So that's really an issue of, like, just 2 very different personality types and how we would, you know, function. But yeah, like, it's not like he was always cleaning and I was never cleaning. It was the fact that no one would clean until it was a big blow up, and then he would eventually do it. And I, you know, admit it was almost always him who.
What? But sometimes clients leave out very important things, Tiny. What does that have to do with whatever the fuck we're talking about?
would eventually snap and do it. And that's not a good way to live, and I contributed to that. And I've never denied that. Like, that has always been an issue, and it's not something I was doing out of laziness or spite or disrespect. It's just something I struggle with. And it's like, I know it sounds stupid. If you don't have those issues, it sounds so fucking stupid. Like, I know it makes no sense. Which makes it harder, because then people do just look at you like you're a lazy piece of shit, you know? If you look up something called executive dysfunction, like that plays a role, and like it'd be times where like I'd be sitting, and I'd be like, sitting on the bed with my laptop, and to any onlooker, it looks like I'm just sitting there doing nothing, but in my head, I'm sitting there stressing, like it's so fucking messy, like it's horrible, like if I just got up and cleaned, it'd be better, so get up and clean. Get up and clean. Get up and clean, you stupid lazy bitch, just get up and clean. And like, it makes no sense, you just can't. I know that makes no sense, but you like, anyone who struggles with executive dysfunction will know what I'm talking about. And yeah, it is a horrible thing to live with, both for the person who has it and the person who's, dealing with the person who has it. And I know that. But I do think it's really unfair that, whenever we both made a mess and neither was cleaned, I never like
It could be the case that she's responding to an ordered list of complaints as well. That is true. Somebody brought that up.
screamed at him to do it. Like I would like get upset and I would like ask him like, could you please, like, I can't handle this. Could you please clean? Which would usually result in me getting yelled at. But like I never blew up at him and was like, what the fuck, just fucking clean. Like, I would never do that. I never like. And so yeah, it just feels unfair. Like I'm aware that I contributed to a massive part of that problem. I'd be willing to say that potentially most of it was me, but I wasn't the only one. And I was the only one who would get screamed at and be left cowering in the fucking corner over it. So it's not fair that I'm taking the full brunt of that, but I will absolutely own up to my part of it because, yeah. So yeah, he didn't want things, he didn't want things 50-50. He just wanted me to clean, and like he would always yell about that. Like he'd always like, why can't you just clean for me and stuff? I'm like, I can't even clean for myself. Like, yeah, I made a note here about how it was a severe lack of respect. And again, that was never what it was. It was never a lack of respect. It was never spite. It was never like, nah, I just don't care, so I'm not going to do it. It's something that I really battled with, and something that he knows how much I hated myself for it, but he just ignored it because he only cared about how it was affecting him, so I was the villain who was disrespecting him, and it's not fair. I wish I was better at taking notes because I'm already forgetting what I'm talking about. I think he referenced me trying even less after I got my ADHD diagnosis, or figured out I had ADHD, something in that realm. That's not true. I didn't try even less. In fact, once I figured that out, I had a little burst of right, there's a reason for this, I can fix it. And I did try, and I read up things, and we go into medication later, I think, but I read up on things, how to do things, and I really did try. And I just couldn't really get anything that worked. On top of that, I don't really know how to put it in words. The way he was made it harder. And I know that he's searched things about it, but the thing was, whenever he was looking stuff up, it was always how can I make my partner do this? Whereas if I was searching things, I was looking for ways to compromise to work. Because I found a bunch of really helpful things through ADHD, but Jake just wasn't interested in cooperating with me. Things because I said a lot of the time I would get started cleaning and I would do a chunk and then I'd reach a point where I couldn't finish it, so it never got fully done. And I saw some ADHD couples saying that their system is that the person with the ADHD will get started, they'll clean as much as they possibly can, they'll do the whole thing, that up until the point where they just get overwhelmed and stop, and then their partner will come in and finish the bit they couldn't. And I was like, that sounds really fucking, and this is just one example of many, and I remember thinking yeah, that sounds really fucking helpful. And I tried to bring it up with Jake and he just wasn't interested. It was just no, you have to learn how to do this by yourself, which sure, but obviously that wasn't working, and if there had been some compromise I feel it could have been easier, but there just wasn't. He wasn't interested in any solution that wasn't 100% me fixing it, the whole medication.
What is the income breakdown of this household? Because it sounds on its head that it's unfair that she's expected to do all this cleaning or whatever, but was he the sole earner in the household and she was just living there not paying rent? Because if so, I can understand this desire to separate household tasks like this.
We both hoped that would change things. Unfortunately, it didn't. I'll get into that later. Yeah, with medication, he that was something that I guess he was looking forward to because it was a thing that would fix me, which I think it was more about depression than ADHD, because I think it was before I knew ADHD was a thing, but I remember him literally saying that I was broken and needed to be fixed once. Close enough to exactly those words. Definitely that I was broken and definitely I needed to be fixed. I don't know exactly how it was worded, but those key points were in there. And having someone who you love and who's supposed to love you say that to is really just soul-destroying.
Soul-destroying?
I never said anything like that to him. I begged him so many times to go to therapy for the issues we were having, and he just refused. I think he went once, didn't like it, refused to ever go again. And I begged him over and over again, and he just wouldn't. He didn't care enough to work on his issues, which is something I'll get into later. Another thing, just unlike him, I'm not going to throw out assumptions as fact, because he does that a lot through this video. There's a lot of him making weird assumptions, saying it as if it's fact, and if people are going to eat that up and that's not cool, I'm going to say with my assumptions that, I don't know for sure and it's just how I'm seeing things, but the way he talked about me getting my ADHD diagnosis, to me, that felt like he was trying to discredit it, to try and make it, talking about how I went to 2 public doctors and then finally went private or whatever. It made it that to me felt like he was trying to discredit my ADHD diagnosis. Maybe not the case, but that's how it felt to me, and it always felt that way in our relationship. I always felt like he didn't really believe that ADHD was something I had, and that was hard as well because it is quite clearly something I struggle with. But yeah, me eventually going private to an ADHD specialist specifically to be seen does not invalidate my diagnosis. I mean, anyone who has tried to get a fucking ADHD diagnosis through the NHS will probably know that they're not particularly fucking helpful. I'm actually going through the process of doing that again now because I'm not really at a point where I think I can pay the amount of money it costs to see a private psychiatrist for this, so I've started talking to the NHS ADHD clinic, but unfortunately they need to diagnose me themselves to move ahead with that, so right back to that whole process, which is super fun. But yeah, I didn't appreciate him trying to for what I felt was him trying to invalidate that. That's not okay. So yeah.
It sounds like, and I could be totally wrong, I'm reading a lot into this, but it sounds like what happened, I'm guessing what his explanation is that she went to the doctor a few times because she's like, I feel like I can't deal with the household chores or whatever. And then the first couple times she didn't get what she wanted or the diagnosis that she thought she had. Then when finally privately gave it to her, and now anytime he's like, I need you to help with this, I need you to clean this, whatever, she's like, I can't, I have ADHD. That's what it sounds like his story is, and that's what it sounds like she's responding to. I haven't seen his story. That's what, yeah, but.
The medication thing came up, and you know, he's like being all angry because it didn't work or whatever. There's no way I could have known that. Like, you know, like, yeah, I told him that when I got the medication things would be better, because sorry, you all know that I'm an emotional person. Which is hard because I feel like I don't know, I feel like me sitting here crying is like invalidating in some way. I'm just trying to be serious, but I can't help it. I thought the medication would help. All these stories I read about people, you know, who like had this amazing time with medication and it changed their life. I really thought that was going to be me. You know, since I've like found other people who had a similar situation where medication hasn't really helped them, that's unfortunate. But at the time I read all these stories about people who got the medication, first day on it, life changed. And I was so ready for that. Like the day that I got my ADHD diagnosis, I like sobbed, like I hung up the phone and I just burst into tears and I cried for so long because I felt this huge relief that I was being taken seriously, and because I thought, this is it, this is the start of me getting something that's going to help. And I remember like
maybe with the way that she explains her thought process sounds like ADHD. Yeah, it might be. I hate this, but yeah, like you should always all do your own research or whatever, but like something for personally that really bothers me is in some ways, psychology shit becoming more popular online has been like really detrimental, because now when people describe their like conditions to me, I can't tell if they're describing like their condition or if they've read the words that they need to say to like actually, like, no offense, and I hate this, and I guess even I do this to some extent, although I guess I'll trust myself more than a stranger, obviously, but like when I read somebody who's trying to describe like, I think I have ADHD, and I'm like, oh yeah, what do you mean by that? And like, well, I have a lot of executive dysfunction, and I'm like, okay, tell me what you read on Wikipedia, right? Like that's what it sounds like to me, and then I don't know if I can trust like anything they're saying, or they're just like, they know the checklist of symptoms that they need to have, and they know what they need to say, and they're just kind of like spitting that out. It's just kind of annoying, like, yeah.
First day, like going down, like picking up the medication from the pharmacy and coming back, and I was like, this is it, my life's about to change, things are finally going to get better, like I'm going to be able to do the things I want to do, and Jake's going to stop hating me for not being able to do them.
Oh my God.
And unfortunately it didn't.
Is ADHD the same as other mental illnesses, and that you can't let it be an excuse of every action in life? You need to work around it. Is the executive function aspect different? I don't know. I don't know if I have ADHD, and I shouldn't even say whatever, but I read a lot about Nathan. I feel like this is how ADHD manifested for me. If I am ADHD. Maybe I'm not. I might also just be a retard, okay? When I was in school, I was very, 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 very good at math, okay? But I couldn't do the homework. Like, I remember where I would get a math assignment, and it would probably take me like 5 minutes to do it, but I would like cry for hours not wanting to do homework. I couldn't do it. It just, the idea of like sitting somewhere and working on something you don't want to do when you want to play video games or anything instead was an impossibility to me. And it was such a struggle. I remember saying before that I was like, it got to the point where I had to have my assignment notebook signed by my teachers and by my parents, so that my teachers knew that my parents knew what my homework was, or else they would give me demerits because I was so bad at doing homework, and it was agonizing to sit and do it. I can't be in your brain, so I don't know if there is a difference, or maybe I'm just normal and I was lazy, which is always like the question. But like, I've heard that for people with ordinary executive functioning, you can direct your attention towards things that need your attention, right? So like you if something needs to be done, then you can go and do it. But for some people, maybe me, I don't know, or for people with ADHD, if there's something that needs to be done but you don't want to do it, the focusing the attention there is like a fucking struggle. You're like the dude pushing the Sisyphus, the fucking rock up the hill infidelity. It's like the hardest fucking thing in the world to assign your attention to a particular thing if you don't want to do it. That's not to say that it's impossible. Like, there are like ways to reward yourself or things to be cognizant of to not worry about those things. But I mean, like, yeah, I guess any mental illness, if you're not lazy, I shouldn't say that. Any mental illness, if you're not careful, you could use as an excuse to never do anything ever. But yeah. How did you deal with that? The way that I dealt with it in my life was that I just got incredibly lucky, like 15 different times. Yeah, that's it. I just got lucky. I loved playing video games. So I was a very, very, very good reader. I like doing like weird, like mud stuff and game stuff that called for some math skills. So I became like very, very, very quick at like a lot of mental math things. And then I had a wide variety of interests from video games. So I would learn shit because I was just interested in the video games I played. And that was it. It was just, I just got really lucky that I grew up in a time where a lot of the video games that I enjoyed doing had a lot of carryover skills to like real life shit. And that's the only reason. That really is the only reason. I just got super lucky on everything. But like I told you, like when I got to college, the cutoff for a full ride scholarship at the college that I went to was a state school. It's like a 24 in your ACT, and I got a 35. And but I didn't meet the GPA requirement. I'm pretty sure I was the only kid with that ACT score that didn't have a high enough GPA because I just sucked at doing homework. I sucked at studying and I sucked at doing homework. I was doing homework like every passing period. I was the kid that got mad at you if you brought up that like the assignment was due to the teacher because I definitely didn't do it. I just couldn't, all of that was just horrible. Jesus. If I could like, that's why I always say if I could tell people, maybe this excuse is like too pertinent to me and I shouldn't give this advice, but that's why I always tell people, if you could just study for 30 minutes a night, your life would be so much better. You just need to study for 30 minutes a night and you'll do so well. If I could have just done that in homeschool, or I'm sorry, in high school, it would have been so much better for my life, but rip. What about music homework? No, music I could always do because that was fun for me. I enjoyed music. That was a fun thing for me. I've thought about getting a mind on that. I've always thought about trying to get a prescription for Adderall or something. I'm just lazy. The paradox, eh? Destiny hated homework, but we're locking for 36 hours doing a manifesto. Yeah, because the manifestos are interesting to me, right? I did more work on one manifesto than I probably did all throughout high school. Like I said, my final for AP English 4, my dual enrollment English class, my final for that was like a 15-page or 10-page paper on Romeo and Juliet, I think. And I never even read the play. I don't know anything about that play. I didn't, but I did my paper, and I got an okay grade too, so fuck you guys. But like, I guess, I feel like if there would have been like debate class in school, if it would have been like, we're going to debate about like the Iliad or the Odyssey, I think I would have been way more plugged in because I'm more competitively minded. So if we can make a competition out of it, then yeah, of course I'm going to be like way more engaged and ready to do the material, but yeah. Is ADHD just thinking too fast? I think that, I'm speaking so far out of my comfort zone here. People like to say that ADHD means you're thinking really fast because you're like super smart or whatever. I wouldn't describe it as fast thinking. I would just describe it as disorganized. And disorganization can come off as being quick, but not necessarily. Like, I don't think like kids with ADHD are like autistic savants or some shit. You just have like a lot of disorganization and it might make it seem like you're going quick or something. I don't know.
It's more like unfiltered thinking. But also I just wanted to chime in about not being able to do homework and stuff. A really common thing with ADD is that if something's not a challenge or not engaging for you, it's just like you're not going to get dopamine from it at all. So, and when you're not going to get a dopamine reward from something, it's becomes, like you said, like torture, like pulling teeth, Sisyphean like hurdles to do it. But that's why commonly ADD kids will test extremely well because that's kind of a challenge. It's challenging like what you've already learned. But and learning itself is like actually like super awesome. Learning is great. But the actual like rote repetitive shit is where ADD kids fail horribly.
Yeah, maybe. Like I did really bad in my chemistry class, but I was like the highest participant in the class. Like anytime like the teacher was talking, I could answer every question. I didn't do well on tests for that class though, because I hated studying. I never memorized all the fucking ions and he asked at every fucking test. Oh, fuck my ass. But anyway, okay, going back to this video, be careful. Fuck my chemistry teacher.
It just happens sometimes. I tried 3 in total. I was put on L-Bounce first, and I felt like maybe a mild difference with it, but not really a lot. Then I think Stratera, and I wasn't on that one very long, it just made me feel really, really sick. And then I was tried on Ritalin, which Ritalin's kind of hit or miss. I still have some mild medication for it. And I'll occasionally sort of like, if I'm having a day where I really, really want to get something done, I'll like take one and hope it'll help because like sometimes it'll help a little bit and I can focus a little bit more, so that's what I'm hoping for, but then other days it just makes me horrendously sick and it's kind of just like spin the wheel, see what you get. So yeah, I kind of want to get back into it. But yeah, at one point I stopped taking the medication and the reason I stopped trying was basically because at that...
In math, we spent a whole week memorizing the unit circle. Am I an idiot? What is the unit circle? Are you talking about like radians and stuff? Oh shit, the pi shit. Trigonometry. This is so long ago. I don't remember any of this shit. SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA was just the relationship between the sine, cosine, and tangent, right? I don't think that was the unit circle stuff. Did we ever memorize this circle? Yeah, we must have. Oh yeah, I think so. I remember this 0110 bullshit. It's related to the unit circle. Gotcha. That seems like a real waste of time. Why would it be a waste of time? Do you remember the ways to solve an integral? No. Not at all. I remember some of the shortcuts. No, I remember like one of the shortcuts, I think. Like, I think the integral of like 3x squared is like 6x or whatever, right? Gives you the area. I don't know, dude. It's been so long. I forgot almost everything. I would have to start back at like fucking college algebra or some shit, probably. Okay. Back to this. Oh, that's the derivative. Well, the integral would just be going the other way then, right? Oh God. Oh, it would be this, right? X cubed. Okay, whatever. Close enough. I don't remember longhand. There's a longhand way to do derivatives and integrals and everything too. I don't remember any of that shit. Okay. Liver King drama is pretty fun. Chill. Okay. Listen, the Liver King drama is easily answerable, okay? Here is all you need to know. When it comes to evaluating internet lifters, okay? Where was this? This was linked in chat, okay? This is all you need to know. This is all you need to know. It's called the natty triangle, okay? You can be big, you can be lean, you can be natty. Pick two. That's it. That's it. It's the natty triangle, okay? That dude was big and he was lean, so he's juicing, all right? Okay, good luck, our goth princess.
At that point, like, everything just felt so chaotic. It was when we were in the old house and everything was like a terrible mess and it was locked down. And like everything was so high stress and we were trying to find a new house and everything just felt so chaotic that I got to the point where I was like, I feel like even if I did get some like medication that was like magic, like the perfect medication that would like fix my brain chemistry, I kind of felt like everything was so chaotic that at that point, even that wouldn't help. And so I kind of made the decision because it was so exhausting, like going through all this and nothing working. It was really emotionally devastating because like I said, I thought this was going to be this life-changing thing that just wasn't.
How fucked up did you get on No Jumper? I wasn't that fucked up. The problem is that like, I did one show earlier in that day where there was a lot of smoke in the room. I think Adam destroyed like 4 fucking joints in front of me on that like hour and a half show. I don't think I was that fucked up. But then when we hit the second show, something happened where, am I making this shit up? When you get high, do you ever see sparks in fuzzy carpets? Am I making this up? Where if there's like a really fuzzy carpet in front of you, you start to see kind of like static or whatever. Does that make sense? I noticed that when that show went through like 30 or 40 minutes, I started to see the carpet fuck up. Then I looked at the face of the guy next to me and I was like, oh, shit. And then I became aware and then I just had to like chill for a little bit. But I think that's when I noticed. But I wasn't like toasted. I was just getting like a little bit. I was just getting a little bit. I took like a short pit stop to Blinkerton, okay? A short pit stop to Benjamin City. And then the guy started talking about God and shit, and I was like, dude. Oh, hold on. Shit. How is your tolerance for everything so low? Because I don't drink or smoke that much. Don't you smoke weed? No. Like, I think I probably in my entire life gotten high probably less than 20 times. Literally. I talk about drugs a lot, and my drug experiences are fun and memorable, but I don't usually do them recreationally. Like, well, I do it for fun, but not like consistently. Like getting high is like a pretty big deal for me. It's pretty weird that I'm getting high. Like if I'm smoking, there's usually something going on. Yeah, so I'm not like getting high like all the time. It's pretty rare. Like I have like a pack of joints that I got like months ago, and I think I've smoked like 2 of them. One, just because, I don't want you to debate that guy on God. He was clearly pushing you to it, or were you too high? I don't know. At some point, I was a little faded, I guess. Yeah. I think that's around when I was asking if, like, does Allah do miracles? I've never actually thought about that before. I didn't know, because I don't hear of, like, Allah did this miracle or some shit. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows, dude? I don't know. That was just... Okay, sorry. Back to our princess.
So eventually, like, after a lot of sort of like just being really emotionally drained by that, I was like, right, I'm going to take a break from trying to sort out the medication. We're going to get a new house. We're going to get in somewhere. And once, like, things start to settle there and think we're in a better place, I'm going to try to start taking the medication again under those more sort of controlled circumstances, if that's the right way to word it. I hope you get what I mean. Basically, just things were so crazy, and I thought, right, I might as well try again under different circumstances and then see if it helps, because at the minute everything's just so up in the air that I feel like nothing's going to help, because life itself is just too chaotic. Which, that could be, like, wrong. Like, I don't know if that was, like, a correct assumption, but that's just how I felt at that point. Again, like, at some point he goes on about me being unwilling to clean. It was never that I was unwilling to clean. It was never an unwilling thing. It was never like, nah, I don't want to. I just couldn't. I know that makes no sense, and he'll never understand. Like, he will go to his death saying that I just hated him and disrespected him and I just didn't want to clean, and that's not the case. There's already notes here that I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Like I said, it's been a stressful, emotional night. It's forever frustrating that the whole way through, my money, when the whole way up until, like, the last, 2-3 years, to, like, the last little chunk of our relationship anyway, when he started making, like, big money, right up until that point, everything had always been our money. Always our money. Even whenever I made a lot more than him, which happened a good few times. There was a few times, like, I had the odd viral video, and, like, not compared to what he was earning by the end of the relationship, but in comparison to, like, the money that we had collectively earned, up until that point, there were a couple of times where I made, at what would have been at that time, a lot of money. Sorry, the card filled up, but I've cleared it off, and I've replaced the battery as well, so... I think I was talking about how, like, there were a few times... Yeah, there were points in our relationship where I was just generally earning more, and, like, points in our relationship where the biggest earner was Metal Ass Gaming, which, like, he did put most of the work into, like, for sure. Like, he was only set up and edited and stuff, but at the same time, I don't mean to sound arrogant, but most of MAG's actual success was coming from my channel. It was coming from my viewers who knew me from my channel, so while he was putting in a lot of the work, the MAG, and, like, or most of the work, sorry, like I said, I don't want to minimize that, it wouldn't have been earning what it did without me being part of it. So, MAG earning money was still... Sorry, I'm, like, really stressed, and it goes, like, right to my stomach, and I've got stress burps. I'm sorry, I know that's gross. Yeah, so MAG earning money was, like, a joint thing. Like, that wasn't him. When MAG earned money, that wasn't him earning money, that was the two of us earning money. And then my channel on top of that would be earning. So, yeah, and there were times where, like, I think whenever I, like, released a certain amount of merch, like, it did really, really well, and I, like, made, like, a big, like, little chunk of money. I was really excited for that, and, like, technically that was my money, but as he said in the video as well, that all got sent to him, and it was divided evenly, so he got half of everything I earned after, our bills and stuff were paid. Now, I'm aware, he did start making, like, a lot more money than I'd ever made, and that he'd ever made in the past there.
I need
like,
to ship in so much shit.
So, like, maybe it wouldn't make as much sense to keep going that way, but still, like, when we'd operated for, like, a decade on all of our money was split completely equally, and in the second he gets some success, that's not the case anymore, and, like, he'll decide, like, what's it, and, like, like, definitely, like, he gave me a lot of money, but he's acting as if I was spending all of his money. He was spending infinitely more, which is fair enough, he earned it, but he's trying to paint it as if I was, like, stealing all his money, and it's one of those, it took me a long time to come around to even spending anything, because I was used to us living without very much money for a long time, so, like, whenever he started making all these, like, crazy big purchases, I was actually really stressed. I was like, no, we need to save, but, like, he kept, like, pushing it, he was like, no, come on, like, your boyfriend's rich now, what do you want your rich boyfriend to buy for you? Like, I'm not exaggerating, like, that's literally the kind of things he'd say. And he was like, no, like, we've been doing it, like, you can buy nice things now, like, what do you want? Like, we'll buy nice things. And, then eventually I came around to it, and I got used to that kind of lifestyle, because that's just the lifestyle we were living, so, like, I don't know what he expected after convincing me to spend a lot of money, and now he's like, oh, she spent all my money. I'm like, you said you wanted me
what
to.
is
Like,
happening
he's
right
just
now?
trying to use that against me now, and it's and, like, even if he hadn't, what was expected? Like, after 10 years of us sharing things equally, then he was just going to be, like, buying, like, £23,000 motorbikes, and, then, like, a couple of weeks later, like, another fucking, like, 10 grand motorbike, and I was just meant to, like scrape by on, like, pennies. Like, is that what he expected? Because if that's how it'd been from the start of the relationship, I don't know, but, like, it was all equal until he was the one earning all the money, and then suddenly, no, it doesn't make sense. Like I said, he was encouraging me to live this more lavish lifestyle, and so I did. I don't know what else to say about that. Like, we were both spending a lot of money. He was spending a lot more than me, like, all his motorbike stuff, all his motorbike helmets, and jackets and all, and that's fair. If that's what he wanted to do, that is completely fine, but he spent it out. Like, I just, like, took all his money. And it is infuriating to me that he keeps saying that I was only with him for his money, and I was using him for his money. We were together for almost 12 years. He had money for maybe 2 of them. Oh. That doesn't make fucking sense. Like, yeah, there were other times he was, like, earning money, but not a lot. Like, for most of our relationship, we were, like, paycheck to paycheck, like, with, like, occasional little times, like, little bursts of money where we could have fun and stuff, but, like, this idea that I was with him for his money the whole time, that doesn't make any sense. I don't like saying it now, because I'm angry at him, and I don't fucking like him, but, like, of course, at one point in time, I loved him deeply.
Sorry.
I don't know if he's tried to deny at any point that he ever loved me, but, like, that would just be silly. Like, of course we both fucking loved each other. Things changed. But, yeah, this idea that I was with him for his money never, ever was true. Not once was that the case. And, like, at this point, like, I would never be with someone for money at this point in my life either. I would rather be with someone who's penniless, who's really great than like someone who's terrible that they haven't had a lot of money. It's like, it's just not something I'm
She almost
driven
said
by.
it.
I like money, don't get me wrong, who doesn't? I love financial security. I love, you know, the idea of like not having to worry about my rent and stuff, which I fucking am now because he is trying his hardest to drag me down. I don't know what's gonna happen. You know, this is the first night while it's happening. It could be fine. People could see through all his bullshit and know he's lying, and it could be totally fine. Or people could just completely believe his lies, and it could like completely tank my channel, tank my Patreon, tank everything. And I am scared because it was right, you know, it was around this time last year that my whole life was fucking turned upside down, and I lost absolutely everything. I had like nothing anymore, and I was so scared. I didn't know how to handle that. And you know, like through you guys, I was able to build myself back up, pick myself up. You know, like we got this house, and I say we because you know it's because of you guys that I was able to do that. And I was like, finally in a good place. I have my house, me and Sebastian, you know, living here happily together. I'm finally feeling like safe. I've got like great friends now, like friends that I lost when I was with Jake because just no one could fucking stand him. And like that sounds mean, but it's true. Like I lost so many people because either they couldn't stand being around him, or he would like flirt with them and be sexually inappropriate and make them uncomfortable, which is something that went on throughout our entire relationship. I couldn't have female friends. He couldn't be trusted around my female friends. And I found out about things I didn't even know about after the breakup of like female friends that I thought would be safe. Like there were some like girls I was friends with that I thought would be safe from him. No, fucking turns out like he would like touch people inappropriately and shit, and they were like, what the f are you doing? I caught him times being inappropriate with people. I couldn't have female friends because of him. I couldn't have other friends because just no one could stand him. And if there's like any guys like, you know, that like could threaten him in any way, he would just put on this big macho show. You see yourself, he keeps talking about how he has no friends. There's a reason for that. There's a reason he has no friends, and it's not my fault. So yeah, you know, I'm at this better point in life where, you know, I've got this
Rape
house now,
alert.
I've got more secure, and I've got my friends, and I've been able to go out and do things and have experiences that I couldn't before. Like I always wanted to go to Slimelight, and I never could. And one of the reasons was because I knew going with Jake would be fucking terrible, because either he would be flirting with everyone and making me miserable, because that's what he did anytime
That's
we went out
me.
anywhere, especially if he was drunk. It was always way too touchy-feely.
Not the rape part, the flirting with everybody part.
People like with girls whenever he's drunk, you know, like I'm not saying he like went up and like grabbed their tits or anything, but you know, just unnecessary, like, you know, like standing like talking to someone at the bar and you'd have to like have his hand on their shoulder or like on their waist, or when there's no need. It was like random girls we didn't know. He was so flirty and touchy-feely, so I didn't like going out places because of that. And then on the flip side, his own anger and insecurity caused issues. I still so vividly remember going to London Edge. I was there, you know, like because I've been invited to work. Jake was my +1, and we're at the after party at Elector Works, and I think we're all like sitting outside, like kind of on the ground, and this guy came up who I think like used to model for Killstar or whatever. An attractive enough guy, you know, like whenever I genuinely, whenever I'm in a relationship, I only care about the person I'm with. I'm not like thirsting after anyone else. I've just never been that way. I'm very like one-track mind. I can only focus on one person at a time. Even if I have crushes, I can only have one crush at a time. I'm not like, ooh, all these like one person. That's just the way my brain functions. But yeah, so like this guy who like, yeah, objectively attractive. I didn't have any interest. All that happened was this guy came up, asked if any of us had a lighter, and we're like, no, sorry, and he like kind of smiled at me, and it was like a little bit of a cocky smile, but didn't feel like he was actually flirting with me. He just seemed like a very confident kind of like, you know, that kind of person. Well, when we got back to the hotel room, Jake was furious, and he refused to come with me to the convention the next day. Like, I'm sure like some of my friends who were there that year remember that.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Not to say that she's wrong here, but probably one of the biggest things that me and Melina fight over is, and actually not even just me and Melina, every pretty girl, I get really fucking irritated when girls can't tell when guys are obviously fucking flirting with them. It is probably my #1 fucking trigger. Actually, to be fair, Melina's gotten a lot, but actually, I rescind that. Melina's figured this out now, thank God. But I remember like a couple years ago, she was just fucking like, oh no, I don't think that guy is like flirting with me. He just like really wants to help me with like all of these different things for no reason and nothing in exchange. And it's like, dude, when I hear like people say shit like that, it actually fucking it's always pretty girls. It like drives me fucking insane. It's like, bro, are you actually that fucking stupid? But I think Melina's gotten a lot better at recognizing that now. Shit, I don't think we've fought over something like that in a long time. We don't fight over it. I just get irritated. It's like, just understand what's happening.
And he had actually been flirting with, again, one of my friends during that convention, making me feel horrible about it. I was miserable. I begged him to stop doing it. He denied he was doing it. I begged him not to do that. He continued anyway, and then a guy dares to smile at me, and then it blows up. And he like yelled at me that he was going to break up with me like the next morning. I was in tears, went to the friend who he had been flirting with, and I like broke down.
Wait, how do you do steam into water? Do I need a condenser turbine, or what is it?
On her. It was all really embarrassing. And then like half an hour later he comes down from the hotel room, acts as if nothing's happened, putting his waist around me, being all like cuddly and nice. And he doesn't know that she knows what went on, so like she's looking at me, I'm looking at her, both of us are like, what the fuck? And like shit like that just went on, so yeah, it's been so nice. Being able to have friends, being able to go to these club nights without worrying that like something horrible's gonna happen, I'm gonna get cheated on or get blown up at because someone smiles at me, like, it's been like, I missed a lot, you know, like I got together with Jake when I was 16. So all of my late teen years, which, you know, like a lot of like really important like...
Wait, it takes water as an input so it won't work? You can use a chem plant. Milkers, what are you doing? Oh, you can use a chem plant. That's not only right. Thank God.
Formative stuff happens in those years, and almost my entire 20s were spent with Jake, feeling like I couldn't do things because he would ruin them. So yeah, I've been at this point now where I'm finally safe and secure and having these experiences, and I have friends who love me, and like I know my friends aren't going anywhere, but in terms of like my house and stuff, now I'm scared that I'm gonna lose everything all over again exactly a year after he fucked me over last time. Like, if he wanted to break up with me, like, fine, like, yeah, sure, didn't have to stay with me. The way everything happened was horrible. It was so horrible. And yeah, I just feel like he's trying to drag me down now. He's angry that his channel isn't doing as well, so he's trying to take everything from me. And I'm just scared now that I'm going to wake up in the morning and my whole Patreon's going to be gone and I'm going to lose my house. And that's probably, me going to worst case scenario. I doubt that's what it's going to lead to, but who knows? There's no way of knowing what's going to happen because the internet is crazy. People will hear a lie and just believe it and run with it. It's been a year and I'm finally in a good place and now this is happening. I just want to be left alone. I haven't said shit about him during this. Like, the only things that have ever been a thing is if someone like asks me a question, my little Q&As, and they ask me about all sorts of stuff. And something about my past relationships brought up. I very vaguely will sort of touch on it. I haven't went into detail to spare him from like what would happen if I had actually talked about all the abuse that I suffered. But I was with him for most of my life.
What abuse?
A large part of my life was that relationship. It's probably always going to be somewhat relevant, if you get what I mean, and like people asking, like, I mean, that's an example. Someone asked me, like, you've been way more social recently, like, did your previous relationship pull you back from that? I always said, I was like, oh yeah, it did in a lot of ways, but things are great now, I have friends, being really nice making these new friendships. I didn't tell people that the reason I couldn't be social was because of all the things he would do.
Like,
I didn't tell people I couldn't be social because he drove our friends away, sometimes by saying horrible things about me, to the point where people couldn't be around him anymore, so like, and we came as a package deal, the whole relationship was so codependent, and so yeah, there was a lot of people that I, like, sort of lost touch with. And now they're back because Jake's gone. And like, so many people, like, apologized to me because, like, they witnessed, like, little snippets of his treatment of me and of his abuse. Obviously not a lot, because that's something you want to keep behind closed doors, but, he couldn't even keep all behind, so they saw how I was treated, and they apologized for, like, not knowing more, like, what a bad situation I was in, but they're saying, like, you guys stayed together so long, and, like, anytime I once did say something, like, sort of mean about him, because every now and again all my friends would finally snap, and, like, something would come out, just, like, a little bit, something about Jake, I would defend him. And they're like, you defended him, you stayed so long, I just figured there must be something there that we can't see. And I will get more into, like, the stuff that I've done at some point in this, but I'm just trying to get through my notes at the minute. I went way off track. I don't even know where we're up to. Oh yeah, he showed my attic and, like, made it out as if he was the one who, like, set that up for me, cleared everything out. He helped me, like, twice. I had to beg him to help me a little bit of it. He was using a lot of, like, heavy stuff and all. He helped me maybe twice, only a little bit, but I put that fucking attic together. I'm the one that put all the work into that and made it, like, a usable space, and that's something I was really proud of. So him trying to, like, act as if he did that, I'm not happy about. That was, like, all me. And he said I didn't use it. I obviously did for, like, I don't know how long, like, all of my videos were filmed in the attic. It's like, that's such a small little thing that doesn't really matter, but it just bothered me because I was like, no, that was me, like, fuck you. So he went on about how I wouldn't do YouTube and he's trying to force me to. He's completely skipping over the part where, for so long, I had to really push. I had to push so hard with my Patreon. I was trying to get sponsorships and stuff to keep us afloat because, up until a certain point, his channel wasn't making very much money, so I had, like, it was a lot of pressure on me, and I had to push really hard. So when he finally did start making a lot of money, it got to the point where, like, I was so emotionally exhausted from just everything, from, having to push with that, from, the stress that the lockdown put on, from the stress of, like, being stuck during lockdown in a house with someone who was so abusive, which was a lot of stress and a lot of pressure. After all of that, he started making some money and he was, like, a bit happier again. And that's the thing, like, he's making out, like, when he started making all that money, that I was like, oh my god, yes, money, no, I remember so fucking clearly, and I've said this to other people, I remember when he started, like, when that took off and he started making money and he started getting all these followers, and, like, I was happy for him, but the main thing, like, at the very back of my fucking head, the thing that I thought was, no good can come from this. Isn't that sad? Like, your boyfriend stuff takes off, but there's a little voice in the back of your head, no fucking good can come from this, and I was so right, because from the second he started making all that money, that was a weapon against me. Which I'll get into more later. What was I'd be under lost stress. He finally told me.
Okay, so far, we haven't heard anything that's abusive. It sounds like kind of the relationship's a little fucked, I guess, but, like, I don't hear any abuse yet.
Take a break. He did his whole, like, your boyfriend's rich, you can take a break now thing. Your boyfriend's rich was, like, a common phrase. I'm like, it was, like, sort of funny and playful, but at the same time. And I was like, fucking amazing. I need this so much. So I did take a break, and, I was able to just go out with friends, and I was able to get out of, because, like, at that point, that was when lockdown had, like, either eased or off. Yeah, so I was able to start, like, going out with friends and stuff, and because, like, I had, like, reconnected with old friends, basically, sort of away from Jake.
She claims he hit her? Wait, when? Did I miss that part?
Which is the only way I could have friends, and, like, that's where the codependency started to end, and I started to go out more without him, which I personally felt a lot of tension and resentment building around that, and he'll say it's, because I wasn't helping him or whatever. To me, it felt much more, and like I said, this is how I feel. And
Oh, Jesus. A healthy debate with Destiny. Yo, I will say, I need to stop. I'm talking to a lot of people about how it's important to have hard conversations, but I'm not actually having very many hard conversations. It's starting to annoy me. That's going to be a push next year that I do a lot more. Instead of all these people going on like, wow, we need to have hard conversations. Like, yeah, let's do it. We need to have hard conversations. It's cool that you're willing to have hard conversations. I agree. It's important to have hard conversations. Cool. That's good. That's it. We need to have, like, let's have a hard conversation. How do you actually feel about vaccines, right? Like, I noticed that that's, like, a kind of a trend that's been happening, yeah. I don't think I'm going to watch my own self on a show. It seems kind of weird.
I'm not saying this as fact, because that, it's not cool to do that. I remember at the time feeling like this weird resentment of me being out with my friends and stuff, was much more him being angry of losing some level of control over me. I was no longer like super codependent on him. I wasn't around him every second of the day. I was going out, I was having fun with other people and like, you know, being able to do that. And yeah, and like I remember it got so bad that like, because he was like getting angry about stuff with friends and all, and I remember actually breaking down and crying and telling him I didn't want to have to give up my friends because I was finally happy, and I was like, please, I don't want to lose my friends. Oh, so yeah, he told me to take a break from YouTube, and I did, and it was great. And then it was around, like, you know, while I was on my break that we finally found a new house. So my plan
Do we
was,
have
I
like
told him-
any, like no evidence, no screenshots, no anything of like any of these claims or any of this quote unquote abuse at all? Like, wouldn't that be kind of important, you think?
over and over again, he still screamed at me constantly. I told him that my plan was, you know, we had this whole big move that ended up getting dragged out for ages, not helped by the fact that he broke up with me in the middle of the move, which just made things like 1,000 times worse. Like, the move was happening, so my plan was, right, new house. The move was something I found really stressful, not helped by the fact that anytime I did go down and try to help with it, Jake would get angry at the state of the place and scream at me until I was crying in the corner and, like, literally about to throw up from stress. And then, like, I remember one of the days we went down, and I was there, you know, to try to help, and, like, you know, we were, like, cleaning out the bedroom, and I think we did get the whole bedroom done, or, like, a good chunk of it done, but he was just yelling and screaming and hitting things. And I was, like, so, that always really scared me, because, like, he's very strong, like, you guys know, like, he's a really strong person, and when he gets angry, it's actually terrifying. I just had a comment on the quick little video of someone asking why are men so attracted, or why are women so attracted to toxic masculinity. I was 16 and I met him online, I didn't know. I'll continue what I was saying first, so we went down to the house. Yeah, and he was screaming and hitting things, and I was stressed out and scared, and like, you know, on top of like him yelling, I was stressed about the move in general because the landlord was putting pressure on, wanted the keys, and we weren't done yet because there was so much stuff, and it was a whole mess, and I was really stressed out. I was put on multiple anxiety and nausea medications at that time, but they only did so much to help, which is another reason I was spending so much time with my friends around then, when I know I really shouldn't have been, you know, like there were important things that needed done, but I was, and it's not an excuse, but like, just as an explanation, I was so desperate for an escape. I was so desperate for an escape from the situation.
Genuinely asking because I'm curious, how would one get evidence of abuse in person? Because generally when you're suffering this type of abuse, usually you're going to talk to at least one friend about it. Like usually you can show like, oh yeah, like here's this conversation I had with this friend where I talked about this particular thing. Like here's this thing where, you know, like generally that's going to happen somewhere. There'll be at least like a couple like recorded conversations in DMs or something.
And from him, I don't know, why did you stand there and just wait, please? And you know, like those friends, they made me feel so safe. The only time. Another reason that I was always so afraid when he was so angry is like...
Did you really just link me a video with a timestamp 2 minutes ahead of where we currently are? Bro, fucking have some patience. Oh my god. Look, it's Brian Callen. Show me Destiny so I can leave.
There you go. All right. Now... Oh, AKA Destiny. Talk to you about... Yeah, I want to talk to you about the things.
Show me
I realize I'm.
Where's my duck shirt?
Echo chamber without realizing.
Yeah, Ducker Z, boys. Okay, we're done.
I wasn't like sick with stress. Where there was little moments I got to take where we would go to my studio and we would make our silly little paper mache pumpkins, which I still have. So I'd go and I'd be with them, and it was the only thing. Like I'd all the medication and everything. It was the only thing that made me feel a little bit grounded and a little bit safe, and I could just pretend that things weren't as stressful as they were. And I know that that's not the right thing to do, like avoiding the problem doesn't fix the problem, but you know, like we all have our unhealthy coping mechanisms. It could be worse, but it wasn't, you know, the right choice, and I'm aware of that, but it was just something that at the time I felt like I desperately needed.
Somebody in chat just pointed out something that's kind of true. People are like not making accusations anymore. People are like, they just say like, this is a thing that happened and this is how I feel about it. So that you can't ever actually say they're wrong. I've noticed that when it comes to like, arguably Max says this a lot, right? I feel like I've been abused. It feels like abuse. It feels like abuse. This feels like abuse. It feels like I was abused. It feels like I was abused. It's like, okay, I don't know what the fuck you're supposed to do about that. You feel like you feel like something because you can't argue with somebody's feelings, you know? It's a little frustrating how much people buy into that, I guess.
I keep getting off track. You know what I'm like? What fucking boy my brain works. We were at the house like one of the days, like there was a bunch of us. I just remember this like one day. He was so angry, I was so stressed, and we decided to like take a break to go to Tesco and get food, which like for me was pointless because I was so sick. There was no way I could eat anything. It was a few weeks before we broke up that I actually like pretty much stopped eating. Like my friends will remember like around that time that like I just was barely eating because I was so stressed I couldn't. Like I remember going out to Nando's and I got a salad and ate like a few pieces of lettuce. I literally couldn't continue because I was just so sick from stress. So yeah, we drove up to Tesco, and something he did a lot. I don't even really know if he was doing it consciously, but like he was aware that it scared me. But if he was angry at me and we were both in the car together, he would drive in a really aggressive, stressful way that really, really scared me. Like it genuinely scared me. And he knew this because I would literally be sitting like pressed into the seat as far as I could go with my eyes shut, crying and shaking as he just drove in this really scary way and yelled at me. At least how I perceived it as scary. like just like accelerating really fast and everything, and I was so fucking afraid. And so yeah, like we went up to the Tesco and we got back, and he's yelling at me again, and he expects me to be able to clean and pack under these circumstances. I'm like a fucking quivering mess. Like I can't cope with that. So yeah, the way he would like drive and stuff when he was angry at me, just I feel it was really unfair, and he knew it scared me, and he didn't stop. And another thing,
Like when we're at that level of like, he drove in ways that scared me and he wouldn't stop driving that way when he was angry. Like, this is, come on. Really? Really?
you know, like another reason I was always so afraid when he was so angry is like, he may not have ever hit me, but I feel like he always, and again, maybe it's just how I'm feeling, I can only say how it felt from my point of view. He didn't hit me, but it felt like he always made sure that I knew he could, and more than that, that he wanted to. You know, he'd be screaming at me about like how I'm so shit and how I'm like ruining his life by being messy, like not those exact words, but you know, like that kind of thing. And then doing like yelling at me and punching doors. And like, how am I meant to take that other than it's me that he wants to be punching? Like that's how it feels. If he's yelling at me and it's my fault, and he's so angry and he needs to hit something, like that feels like he wants to hit me, but he's just taking it out on something else. And like, I'm sure some people are like, oh, but grateful that he did take it out on something else and he didn't hit you. Like, no, it's still not okay. And I think I'll get to my notes, but he tried to say that didn't happen in the last house. It didn't happen in like the newest house that we lived in for like 2 months or something before he threw me out. The house before that, he tried to say it didn't happen. It absolutely did. The holes were full of doors to the point where I had an email from the landlord after we moved out, furious about the holes in the doors and stuff. And I tried to downplay it, pretend it wasn't really happening that much when, like, you know, there were, and like most of the holes were in the bathroom door. And I was trying to think, like, why the bathroom door and why not the bedroom door? And it's like, it's because the bathroom was the only door that locked. So when I was really stressed, I needed to get away. I would usually go into the bathroom because it was a very small house. I'd go into the bathroom. That was the door I could lock and try to like, get away. So that was the door that would get punched more. I don't even know if he remembers that because that's like so much was saying. I don't know if he's.
I don't even know if he remembers that. That's a hella sus statement, but okay.
Just blatantly lying, which in some cases he is just blatantly lying through that video. But there's somewhere I'm like, is he lying or does he genuinely not remember? Because he's like saying, oh, it happened maybe twice in the house. No, it happened a bunch of fucking times. He's trying to say that like, you know, he hasn't had any anger problems like since 2013 or something. That's not even vaguely fucking true. A month or something before we moved out of that old house, I'd come downstairs in the morning. We were both in the kitchen. It's a really small kitchen. There's not much space. And I noticed that he'd had turkey for dinner the night before and he'd accidentally left the turkey out on the counter. I didn't get angry at him. I didn't nag him. My exact sort of thing was like, oh, babe, you left your turkey out. You know, just like oh, no, your turkey. Like, I wasn't like, oh, you stupid cunt, you left me. I was just like, oh, babe, your turkey. And he just exploded. He started smashing fucking plates on the floor. I'm like, you know, as he starts screaming, I'm like pressed into the very corner of the kitchen, shaking and crying while he smashes stuff and screams. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, you know, yeah, he was really stressed at that point. We were both really stressed about like the house situation and like, yep, me being a messy bitch was contributing a lot to that stress. But for me to be standing fucking cowering in the very corner of the kitchen trying to press myself further in the corner while he screams and smashes things around me, that's not okay, to the point where I was just standing there and didn't know what to do until he eventually screamed at me to get out. And there've been situations like that before, and like, you know, times where it wasn't even about me, but like his anger was so out of control. The day that we got, if you remember, like years back, we got like thrown out of one of our houses because the landlord decided to sell, and that was horrible. And, you know, I was panicked, Jake was angry, and like, I agree, he had every right to be really angry, that was a horrible situation, but the way he reacted to it was so bad that he was like demolishing the house. And it's like, again, like screamed at me to just get out of the house. And I didn't know what to do. I was like in like little tiny shorts and pajamas. I had to grab Sebastian so that he wouldn't be in the way of things being thrown and broken. Grab Sebastian. And thankfully at that time we were friends with our neighbours across the road.
Sorry.
And I'd like run across the road half fucking naked, holding Sebastian, banging on their door. My friend was in the bath, so she didn't hear me for ages. So I'm just standing crying and shaking, holding Sebastian. He's trying to get out of my arms. I don't know when that stopped. Sorry. So yeah, I'm standing like, you know, trying to get in this door. People are driving by looking at me like, what the fuck's going on? I'm standing half naked, holding this cat, fucking crying and panicking. And he said that, like, you know, that wasn't anything to do with me. He wasn't angry at me. And I completely understand, like, I was angry as well. I completely understand his anger and every right to be angry at that situation.
I don't mind people being sad or emotional over stuff like this. I think it's totally normal, totally fine. There's no issue at all. But like the venting it publicly is it makes things such a big deal. I don't understand. I don't understand the need to do it. Like there are times when people can be afraid in relationships and upset about things, and that's fine. And I get it. I understand, and it's totally normal. And people can have emotional reactions, whatever. Like that's fine. But like the crying about it, like it's this huge thing, and then doing it publicly while you're crying about it, it makes it seem like I'm expecting to hear some rape shit if I'm getting a video with you crying, or like some physical abuse. Like there's going to be some serious shit coming. But if it's just like, oh, like our relationship was like very complicated and confusing, and he got mad and he shouted at someone, it's like, why the fuck do you feel the need to tell this to the whole fucking world? That's so fucking weird.
It was really unfair what happened to us. But living with that, someone who reacts in that kind of way to anger, was so scary and so fucking emotionally draining. It was so much to deal with. And it just made my issues worse, like the depression and the anxiety and stuff. It made it even harder to get myself into any sort of mentally healthy space where I could like do stuff. Like it was a real burden to take on. Like he said multiple times in that video, he didn't have any friends. I was the only one there, so I was taking like the full brunt of his issues. And generally, unfortunately, the main thing that he would experience was anger, which is hard because I was scared of him. So like, you know, like even when he'd be yelling at me, like he would do this thing, and again, I don't know if he realized he did this, but he'd be like yelling at me angry, and he would like go like that, and again that felt like I want to hit you so bad, but I'm holding back. I don't know, maybe that's not what that was. But, you know, someone doing this while they're screaming at you, it's fucking scary. And like,
All right, I
I
shut
tried
up. I'm
multiple
sorry.
times.
Oh,
And again,
I'm
like,
sorry.
I'm
I'm
telling you, he never hit me. I'm not going to make it seem that way, but I was always so afraid of it because he was so fucking strong. And I remember there was like times where I like struggled to sleep at night after we'd had a big fight because I'd be thinking like, if he finally snaps one day and just like in just one moment of just anger just turns around and hits me, I'll probably die. Like he could easily kill me with one punch. He was so fucking strong. He could so easily just kill me with one punch. And I was like, God, that could be how my life ends. Like, you know, it hasn't happened so far, but he could snap one day. People snap. And like I said, there's all these times of like him punching doors or doing his thing. And, you know, to go back to the whole not cleaning thing and how I'm trying to explain this, not me being lazy, and I just couldn't. If the fear of literally fucking being punched in the head and dying wasn't enough to make me clean, then I don't know what was going to. You know, like it's 100% an issue in my brain. It was never just being lazy or never out of spite or disrespect towards him. And that's like when the breakup finally happened, like I was shocked and I was scared, and my whole life had been turned upside down, and like, you know, that was all a lot to have to emotionally process. But I got over the pain of actually losing him relatively quickly, considering, and it's purely because it's not because like, you know, I was just using him for money or whatever. The reason being was because I had mourned that relationship so many times through those 12 years. Like in the early years when he cheated on me with some girl from work, all the times I caught him flirting with girls online, I begged him to stop. All the times I couldn't have friends because of things like that. All the times he screamed at me until I hated myself. All the times that I was like cowering in fear as he smashed things. He hurt me so much through that whole relationship that, you know, a lot of the mourning process was already done by the time we did finally break up. You know, there was the initial shock to get over, you know, all the fear of the unknown and of course the anger and everything, but the reason that I didn't like pine after him for very long after the whole thing happened was because it was just, it had all been like fucking like emotionally beaten out of me for years. I don't even know how we got onto that, but yeah, so I told him over and over again that as soon as the move was over and done with, like done, the keys were handed in, the old house was no longer this big looming horrible cloud of stress that, you know, I was like, just like I couldn't fucking get past. That was when I was going to start YouTube again. That was my plan. Old chapter, 100% closed, coming back to YouTube, brand new. I was so excited. I was like, I'm going to come back in this new house with my new life and I'm going to like be able to make changes. And I was like, yes, it's going to happen. And we broke up before the move was ever done with, so that never happened. And that's why, and I told him over and over again, I'll finish my studio, I'll finish the decorating, because I started the decorating, like, my friends painted it, and I started the desks, and that was an ongoing thing, and I tried so many things to make those fucking desks work, it was a whole thing. And Jake kept being like, he'll like yell about me spending his money, but like I bought those desks and I was trying to paint them and it wasn't working. He's like, well, just buy new ones then. And I was like, well, no, like we've spent money on these ones. I'm not gonna like make you buy whole new desks. Like I'm gonna make these ones work. Like, you know, they were expensive. Like, but that's the thing. He's like, oh, she spent all my money. It's like he was very encouraging of that. Like, you know, things like that. Where I was like, no, I'm not just gonna toss them. And I understand his logic. Like, you know, he thought it was better to just toss them and get new desks that work better rather than wasting more time on trying to make those ones work. And I do understand that. I 100% understand where he's coming from with that. But to me, I was like, you know, it felt like such a waste. And I was like, no, you know, I can make these ones work. I've painted things before. I can paint these. So yeah, I did tell him over and over again. He's acting like, you know, it was like it was never going to happen. I told him over and over again, as soon as the move's done. When the move is done, when we're done with that, starting YouTube again. So there was a clear timeline. Maybe he didn't believe me. Fair enough, like, you know, with my executive dysfunction, having issues in the past. Maybe he didn't believe me.
Executive dysfunction.
Fair enough, you know. I was excited to do it, and I was determined to do it, so it was going to happen, but I would understand why he would be doubtful of that. But to act like I just had no intention of ever coming back isn't fair, because he knew exactly what my plan was. Like, one thing that he mentioned, like, when he was going on by Barcelona and stuff, was how he was going to buy me an art studio in Barcelona, which, for one, Barcelona prices are different than Belfast. I don't think we could have done that. Two, it was a nice gesture and all, and it was nice that he thought my art was good. It was never really a dream of mine. Art's something I like to do as a hobby, for one, and two, like, he keeps saying, well, my art was good enough to sell. I genuinely don't believe it is. I haven't done a lot, and what I have done has been very, like, hobbyist things, and, like, that reflects on the quality of the work. Like, as a hobby, it's fine. I personally don't believe it's anywhere near good enough to sell, and certainly not out of, like, an art studio in Barcelona, like a shop in Barcelona, like, absolutely not. Like, I think the last thing that I did paint was actually for his birthday, because, like, you know, it was hard because he had so much money, and he, like, anytime he wanted something, he wasn't reserved, he'd, like, just buy himself, and, like, he was super expensive board I bought. So, like, birthdays were kind of hard, so I had to rely more on, like, sentimental things and try to get them just, like, little things that I knew would, like, mean something, rather than, like, a big, lavish, expensive gift, especially, you know, because he had more control of money and stuff. Like, I think his last birthday I managed to hunt down. He told me at some point about, like, this cartoon that he loved whenever he was really young. I don't think it was even a long conversation, but he told me about it. I think it was called Street Sharks or something. And he told me, like, he really loved that cartoon. And
I remember that cartoon.
And I'd remembered that all those years, and I managed to hunt down, like, an old, like, from whenever the show was, like, an old figurine, like action figure toy, like, from that time. Like, that was one of the silly little things, like, on from his birthday. And it might not be something he actually cared about. He might have just been annoyed that it was, like, another piece of just stuff for the house. But, like, just, you know, little things like that I thought would be nice. So one of the things that I did was I tried to recreate a painting from one of the Silent Hill games, whatever one Pyramid Head's in, which I think is 2, maybe. There's like a painting, I feel like Mist is in the title, there's a painting in that game. I think I have a picture of it here. I did the painting, I didn't do a great job. It's like, it turned out too bright, it should have been a lot darker and stuff. I tried to do that painting just as, like, you know, like, there's no big expensive thing to buy, and I was like, maybe this will mean something to him. And he was really appreciative. He was really appreciative of that painting, he seemed to really like it. But yeah, no, my point is, like, you know, like, that's probably the most detailed painting I've done. It's fine, it's fine for, like, a hobby thing. It is not really, like, selling out of an art shop in Barcelona good. Like, it wasn't, like, a huge dream of mine. It's something that would be nice to think about, but it was never something I really wanted to do, but he was, like, really pushing it. And that's the thing, like, his idea of supporting me was throwing a lot of money at things and trying to push me into doing things I didn't want to do. And I'm like, that's not support. Like, he was going about how much he supported me. And I'm like, it's not support if it's not what I want and need, though. And that was just a real communication issue. No matter how many times I tried to explain that to him, he just wouldn't listen. Like, he always tried to push me out of doing YouTube, even though I told him that's what I wanted to do. I don't know if it's just because he wanted the spotlight, because whenever I was the bigger channel, he had such an issue with it. He actually once told me that I didn't deserve what I had on YouTube. I didn't deserve the subscribers I had. I didn't deserve the fame I had. And I wasn't good enough. And I didn't deserve that. Like, those words. It was quite a long time ago in the relationship that he said that to me. And he was always angry about any time we went somewhere, he would have to be my +1 because, like, you know, I was invited as a YouTuber. At that time, he wasn't big enough to be invited himself. So he was my +1 and he would, like, shout and scream about only ever being +1 and just being known as Toxic Tears' boyfriend while tagging his pictures as Toxic Tears' boyfriend, and then denies that I had any part of his growth. So, yeah, his constant, like, anger and jealousy over me being bigger than him on YouTube put a real strain on things, both on the relationship and on my relationship with YouTube. And it started to really push me away from it. And I wish to God I hadn't let that. I can't believe that I let myself be pushed away from something I really loved. For a boy, I know it's like, not a boy, it was a 12-year relationship, you know, it was a bit more than that. But, you know, at the end, for a boy, who had the fuck be over anyway. And, like, you know, whenever MAG started, like, he put so much pressure on that doing well, because he so badly wanted to be big and famous, and, like, I get that, but there was a lot of pressure on that with these really long recording sessions, especially after John left, it's just the two of us, and he quit work to do MAG full time. There was just so much pressure on it, and I had to keep taking, like, time and energy that would be going to my channel away to be part of the MAG things, and yep, he was the one setting it all up, he was the one editing it all, I get that. But, you know, the recording sessions alone were still stressful, his constant anger was stressful, like, every day that we had to set up for that, he'd be angry and yelling, and I'd be stressed. And so by the time we came to MAG, it'd be really hard to get into, like, a happy, fun headspace, because it was just this big, fucking stressful thing. And, yeah, there was a bunch of times I wanted to do stuff for my channel, but we need to do stuff for MAG.
2 more hours? I'm gonna skip at 30 minutes.
While he was at rehearsal, I never had any craft nights without Jake knowing, like, he always knew what I was doing. I think that day I had been down at the house, I tried to get a little bit of cleaning done, and then I went and had my craft night, and there was no reason why Jake shouldn't have known about that, like, it was always on the table.
I forgot my
I think he did end up clarifying, but there was a part where he was talking about clearing the house out that made no sense, because what he was talking about happened after we broke up, and he was talking about as if we were still together, and I really didn't understand. I think he did clarify that, but I made this note, because I was like, literally, what are you talking about? And yeah, like, I don't know, like, he's, like, angry that I didn't clean the house after he broke up with me and threw me out of my home, like, if he thought I was gonna be going down and, like, cleaning this place to be spotless while I was in, like, absolute fucking emotional turmoil from that. I don't know what he expected, but I was not gonna be in that place. I was fucking distraught, I was angry, I had found out that I'd been cheated on, like, I was not about to be spending my days down, like, cleaning for him, so, like, sorry if that's not a great thing, but yeah. Yeah, he showed those messages and it was the 1st of December, we hadn't broken up for ages. He tried to show screenshots as proof of me gaslighting. None of it was gaslighting. I don't know if other people can tell that from looking at those screenshots, but it wasn't gaslighting because I was telling the truth. Like, he was saying, like, did you say this thing? No, I didn't. And if he had to watch the video, he would know I didn't say this thing. So instead he's using a comment from someone who's a troll, because they posted a bunch of trollish stuff on my channel, that he's using that as evidence that I'm, like, lying. I'm like, well, no, like, if you went to the video, you can see exactly what I said. I never gaslighted, I never lied. That much was true. So, like, his evidence that I was gaslighting him is insane, especially because he's the one who's always fucking gaslighted me, like, especially with that fucking manipulation thing in Barcelona. He keeps accusing me of gaslighting, and, like, my friends know this because they've been fucking watching this whole thing unfold the entire time, and that, like, you know, they know everything, they've seen all the screenshots, and they're like, is he fucking insane? I'm like, no, I know. So much of what he's accused me of is stuff that he's done, and I'm like, have you lost your fucking mind? Like, I don't understand it, but yeah, I never gaslit him, and the screenshots he's showing are not proof of gaslighting because it was all true. Yeah, I've never once said during all of this that I was perfect. Like I said, I've discussed my issues here, but my issues don't justify the years of abuse and the stuff with friends and the screaming and the breaking things, and, you know, me not being able to clean does not justify that behavior. Like, it's a problem.
Bro, the cleaning was a big deal. Holy shit.
Asking nicely for me to clean versus yelling. Whenever he did ask nicely, I would try. But, you know, I know, like, trying means I did try, but I wouldn't get very far. And that's when, like, things like, you know, which I mentioned earlier in the video about, you know, like, if I could have started and he could have finished or something, like, that would really help me, but he wasn't interested in that. It's shit like that. But whenever he was being nicer, I would make an effort. But I wouldn't get far enough, and then he went right back to screaming. Hey, that was his default. Like, you know, it's not like him being nice was the default, and he occasionally left me. Him being nasty and yelling at me and making me feel worthless was his default. He said he broke up with me twice. The first time wasn't a breakup. The first time he said he needed space from me for a few days. It wasn't a breakup. It was, you know, like, us breaking up being a possibility was discussed. But that itself, like, we had the whole conversation, I had the whole freak out. Like, I was panicking because, you know, like, I was being asked to leave my home and I was scared. But the conclusion we came to is it wasn't a breakup. I just needed to leave so we could have space for a few days. So I was going to have to go to the cold studio and sit there and be scared and cold and upset while he figured whatever out. So yeah, him saying, like, he broke up with me that night, that's not what we discussed. It was discussed as a possibility, but it wasn't a breakup. He said he wasn't talking to Kat at this point.
But he was. Ooh.
I don't think that's true. I don't know for sure.
Oh.
Because nothing I have was in text form to prove it.
What?
But I don't think that's true. It could have been after that night that this all happened, but I don't even know if I told him, so I don't even know if he knows that I know. But there was one point, he was downstairs, I was upstairs, he had left his iPad lying beside the bed.
Uh-oh.
And something came up on the screen, and I glanced down.
From Kat.
And it was a fucking message from Kat. And not like a little, like, normal friendly one. It was something gross. He had posted some fucking gross thirst trap, and she had replied with something extremely inappropriate. I don't remember the exact words, but I remember looking at it and being like, are you fucking kidding me? And I never opened that. previous, I'm surprised I didn't talk about this actually, but I'm going to own up to it right now. At other times in our relationship, I've mentioned him talking like, you know, fucking having inappropriate things with girls online was a constant issue. And earlier in the relationship when I was younger, I would sometimes go into his phone and look for evidence of this. And I know that in itself isn't great, you know, like the violation of privacy and stuff. People have mixed opinions on this. I know it's not a very good thing. You know, I can try to justify it by saying every single time I did it,
I found
found
something.
what I expected to find. I only ever did it because I knew something was going on. That was always right. Still not a great thing to do. Getting someone's privacy, sure. But that was something that I did do and made a real effort to stop doing. And, you know, like I talked to him about it and I was like, look, how about if I'm ever worried about something, I will like come to you and ask you about it. And, you know, you can show me or whatever. And like, I just might need that sometimes. You know, I did need it because he broke my trust over and fucking over again. So how was I supposed to trust him when he had cheated on me? He had flirted with everything that moved. He had fucking felt up my friends and shit. Like, how am I meant to trust him?
Felt him
but,
up.
you know, he would like...
Yodi, gang.
Typical fashion, anytime I did look and I found exactly what I was looking for, and I would get upset and be like, what the fuck is this? It would get turned back on me, and everything he did didn't fucking matter because I was the bad guy, because I looked through his phone. He is absolved of any guilt because I looked through his phone. He's, you know,
What are
he's not the bad guy, and so he would
doing?
scream at me and be so angry at me. So eventually, over the years, I stopped looking through his phone because I was trying to work myself, I was trying to work my guilt, and also because it just resulted in me being screamed at. So that's so I stopped doing. So this time, whenever Kat messaged, and I saw that pop up and it was something gross.
Oh, hold on. I think you skipped. This is the most watched part of the video.
Most girls generally enjoy oral. He wasn't into it. I'm not going to force someone to do something they're not into, but he wasn't into it, and that sucked because that is something I would have really enjoyed. And then the sex itself was very vanilla, which again is fine, but I'm not personally. I wouldn't be what I would consider vanilla. I'm not crazy or anything, but I wouldn't be so vanilla. He very much was. I'm not outing him for anything there. He has said that himself, like on MAG and stuff, like we spoke about, and he said himself he's very vanilla. And that's fine. But, you know, it wasn't something I enjoyed. And so sex, for the most part, was very little foreplay, no head, none of the stuff that I would personally enjoy, which we don't need to get into. We can leave that out. And so it was really like, you know, like 20 minutes of just...
Why would you even... Then why did you bring it up? Why do women think they can do this? It's actually so fucking stupid.
Solid pounding, and because I wasn't... I'm sorry to word it that way, I don't know how else to say. Generally, like, just like 20 minutes of pounding in like one of 3 positions. And I like stopped even trying to like initiate other positions because I at that point I just wanted it over with because I'd gotten to the point where I just so didn't enjoy sex with him. So yeah, just pounding away until it was over, and like to the point where like because I really wasn't into it, I would be like I'd be really dry, and so it would just be like friction burns. So sex was actually just painful, and it is partially my fault. I shouldn't have faked it all the time. I did. I don't know how he didn't know I was faking, but I did like fake it for our entire relationship. I think I
How fucking stupid. What? I faked it for our entire relationship. I don't know how he didn't figure out that I was never having...
only came during sex like 3 or 4 times that I can remember, like usually with the use of a vibrator or something. And that's not entirely on him. I think when I'm alone, it's not a problem. During sex, I think in general, I do sort of struggle to reach that point. I hate this, I feel so awkward. I think I do struggle to reach that point, and it was partially because the sex wasn't very good, but is it also I think partially because I can get quite in my head during sex, especially if like I'm feeling like I'm like bad about my body or whatever. Whenever I'm like trying to like focus on like any good feelings, instead I'm like, do I have tummy rolls and stupid shit like that. But a lot of it was like, you know, if you're just pointing away, like, you know, my clit wasn't being touched basically like most of the time. There was very little of that. So yeah, I very rarely finished during sex in those 12 years. And it's my fault for faking it. I shouldn't have faked it. That girls don't fake it. It's telling a guy that what he's doing is good when it's not. So there's no point in doing it, but I'm always too concerned with not hurting anyone's feelings, not bruising anyone's ego. Which, you know, like if I was with someone and they couldn't finish, like I would probably take it, even though it's not a personal thing, I know I would take that personally. I think, you know, there were times that like that like occasionally happened, and I would take it personally. I'd feel bad, and I'm like, oh, I'm a failure as a woman, you know. So like because of that, I didn't want anyone to feel bad, so I would fake it. And you know, like I said, I shouldn't have done that. That's a big communication error and something that should have been talked through. But you know, with Jake's already sort of insecurities and his issues, it just didn't feel possible. And for so many years, like, it was really hard to talk to him about sex. He was very strange about it. Like, he says he has a high sex drive, but it was very hard to actually ever discuss sex with him. And, like, if I was watching TV or something and a sex scene came on, like, he'd get, like, really weird and annoyed and, like, storm out, and then so I'd feel, like, weird about, like, watching anything that had sex in it. And, like, I don't know, it was just... It was all strange, and there was not enough communication. And then by the time it came towards the end of the relationship, and he tried to open communication,
Why is she including
more,
like so
I
many
had, like, repressed so much of that over like a decade.
details of all
I
this
actually
shit?
found myself really struggling to talk about it and feeling really embarrassed trying to. I tried, but I actually did realize that I was really struggling then to open up. And I did a little bit, and like, you know, whenever he was having a conversation about me wanting to initiate more, then I tried to talk to him about like my needs and what would help me. And, you know, I mentioned that I would appreciate it if he was like a little bit like rougher and stuff. Because for someone who's so like angry and aggressive in life, he was very like the exact opposite in bed, which is like, you know, not.
This is bullshit. She should get canceled for shit like this. I think this should be cancelable. When you start dumping every irrelevant relationship detail on stream or on public when the other person can't respond and nobody even knows what he's, and the other person even like, this is actually like disgusting. This should count as like virtual. Unironically, it should. Like, it's just really gross that people do this shit. Like, imagine if I have like a breakup stream and somebody's like, yeah, I didn't really like Samantha. Her vagina was like really smelly. I think she had a lot of yeast infections, and you know, she just sucked in bed. Like, why the like, it's so up that you would ever do that. Like, why? It's just, unless it's like directly relevant, right? Unless it's directly relevant to something that's being said. Why the fuck would you ever out somebody's like personal sex shit like this? It's so weird.
Not the way around I would have liked things. And his exact reaction to me asking him to be rougher in bed was, and end up as part of me too, no thanks. Which just seems like a really weird thing to say for your partner asking you to consensually...
And lo and behold, what kind of video are we watching? Wow. Sounds like a stupid thing for him to say, but also oddly prophetic.
Like, I wasn't asking him to fucking like beat the shit out of me.
Also, what a weird juxtaposition of requests. This woman sounds like she is dog shit at communicating anything sexual. So she doesn't like being jackhammered for 20 minutes with no foreplay. Okay, that's fair. But then she's also saying she wants it rougher, or like it's like such a. But then she's faking all of her orgasms too. Like, I have no idea what the this woman would ever want in bed. It sounds like she's communicating like 20 different things and is like selling a lie the entire time. Like, what exactly do you want? Like, Jesus.
Throw me out a window or anything else. Just like, oh, just be like a little more rough. Yeah, so that was kind of weird. So yeah, we were just on very different pages sexually. I wasn't getting what I needed. And like I said, like, I got to the point where I thought I had a medical problem. I thought me being dry was like a medical issue, and I went to the doctor about it, which is so embarrassing because without getting into... I don't want to go into more details of my personal life. Without getting into more detail, I have since come to realize that it absolutely was not a medical problem, and I am a-okay. In regards to all of that...
how would you not know? Did you never masturbate a single time in your entire life? How, like...
and my sex drive has actually increased incredibly since the breakup, which is annoying in itself. But yeah, it was just that I wasn't feeling it with Jake by that point, unfortunately. And like I said, I wasn't even really aware. Like I said, I went to the doctor because I thought something was medically wrong, because I just couldn't click in my head that it was just I wasn't into him that way anymore. I didn't know that. I don't know how. I couldn't put those pieces together, but I just thought something was wrong with me. Like, he had me convinced something's wrong with me. I agreed. I was like, let me go to the doctor. They were like, we can't do anything for you. And it's because there wasn't a problem. I just wasn't into the sex.
Input priority on
so
page
yeah,
splitter. There is an input priority right here. Fuck you.
Jake, and he made me feel quite bad about myself quite often over the years, to the point where it made it hard. So then I would very rarely personally initiate because I was so insecure. And a big part of me getting in the mood generally would have been feeling sexy and feeling desired. So for me to get in the mood, him initiating was actually kind of important, if you understand what I mean. Like, it was hard for me to get in the mood without him initiating, because I needed to feel wanted and sexy first. And, you know, the affectionate side of things, which unfortunately I wasn't getting. It's complicated. Sex and emotions and all of that are really complicated, and unfortunately things just weren't meshing there. But we were still having sex right up until very close to the end of the breakup, or close to the end of the relationship. But yeah, unfortunately it just wasn't something that was particularly enjoyable. And I'm sure like it wasn't like towards the end, I'm sure it wasn't the most amazing sex he'd ever had either, because I wasn't into it, so I probably wasn't putting on my best ever performance most of the time.
Niece coaches on YouTube, and I watch his streams, and he's coaching 3 times a day and 2 times Oscar for 200 each. He's making 10K a month just off that alone. Oh no, Niece is his own fan account on Reddit. Oh no, Niece, what are you doing? Oh no.
So I'm sure by that point it wasn't amazing for him either, but it was kind of
His fault.
easier for him because he was vanilla, so that he didn't have
Jesus.
specific things that weren't being met generally, if that makes sense, other than me not initiating, which, not great, but I've explained why. I think we've talked about my sex life enough. This has been horrendous, but he brought it up, so but yeah, I did
Oh shit, hold on, I'm sorry. I will qualify everything I just said. If it is the case that he was bringing up personal sex shit, then she would have justification too, if that is happening. I haven't watched his video, I guess, so to be fair to her, if he was bringing shit up, then she has every right to trash him, I guess. Although everything she said sounds incredibly fucking stupid, but what is his side of things? I've had enough.
Second time having to film this video. See, what I was originally going to do was I was going to do a Q&A as a guise or a platform to have the keys for this place anymore. So they cleaned the house spotless in 48 hours. They did a fantastic job. So if anyone out there in the Belfast area needs a cleaning service to clean their house in the event of a move, or if they just need it cleaned from top to bottom, if you got kids and it's all messy, I'm going to be calling them because my carpet's got lipstick in it. I want to see if they can get it out. So yeah, if you guys need a cleaning service, cleaneroo. And if you're wondering, Jake, how much did that cost? And are you really the one that had to pay for it? Yeah, so this is the bill for Cleaneroo. I had to pay this.
The bill for Cleaneroo, 900 quid.
I didn't have to pay this. If Kaya had cleaned out her stuff when I asked her to clean it out, we would have not only had plenty of time, I would have had the ability to clean it myself from top to bottom. So that's £900. That's about $1,000. I had to drop $1,000 when I'd already dropped several thousand on the tour. So there's that. I had to take responsibility for that. Again, be the responsible adult. Got the keys back to the landlord on time. So this is the only part that's slightly chronologically muddled here. Like I said, I was extremely stressed out from having to sort out the tour that was coming up and also having to clean out the old house, which was not being done by Kaya despite the numerous amount of times I asked her to do her part. So the Cleaneroo part didn't happen until
These guys have their whole relationship was just fucking who was cleaning or who wasn't cleaning. That was like the entirety of the fucking struggle, I guess. My God. Okay, 20 times 96, 1920. 1920. Let's do that many.
After I got back from the tour, and it was after I got back from the tour that I realized that Kaya had not touched the house at all, and that's when I had to clean it up. That was after we broke up. Only by a few weeks, but it was after we broke up. What I mean by this section right here is that the initial refusal to clean the house over the dwindling months we had to get it clean in order to give the key back was a massive factor in me deciding to end the relationship. And that is exactly the moment I realized that not only is she not coming on tour, but this relationship is over. That was the last straw. That was the biggest amount of disrespect and inconsiderate behavior I'd ever seen anyone give me. Like, she could have been spending her own money and doing her own YouTube channel and, that kind of thing, which still wouldn't have been great. But like, at least it would have been better than what she was doing, which was living off my dime in a house I was paying for while taking me for an absolute ride. It was all take and no give. I need to emphasize that this is not a 2-year or 3-year, immature relationship. This is an 11-year relationship where this behavior has been going on for 11 years. This inconsideration, this disrespect, this lack of interest in how these things affect me, couldn't care. She thought everything was completely fine, and she could not dispute anything I said. Now, I was very, very weak. I was very weak and upset and very, very sad. Very, very sad. I was trying so hard to hold myself together. She had driven off to the studios. I was finally in this house alone. And I was like a quivering tower of pebbles, man. I could barely hold myself together. I was looking at like her shoes and nearly breaking down in tears. I was looking at her piano in the corner, nearly breaking down in tears.
Did he say shoes as shearers? I was looking at her shearers. Jesus Christ.
Tears. I was trying to find a show that we hadn't watched together, because if I watched it, I'd be breaking down in tears. I paced the room, stepped outside. I had no friends to talk to. I couldn't talk to any of the friends I had at the time because I just don't like having friends, and I didn't have anyone that close that I could confide in. So I had to sit there.
I didn't talk to any friends because I don't like having friends.
Enough to stand up for myself and take this stand and not cave. I lasted 2 hours. I messaged Kaya and I said, I'm sorry. Big mistake. I said, I'm sorry. I take it all back. I will just continue doing everything for you, but please just come back. I'm so sad. I think she left her car there for whatever reason, and I went and picked her up, and I was crying in the car. I was really upset. I was so sad. Nothing compared to the next 2 weeks that would follow. We get home, and I'm just so happy that she's home. I'm so happy that she's back. I'm so happy that like heartbreak that I felt, that intense, like, I can't even describe it, like hollow feeling. I can't believe, like, I'm so glad that went. And I like, we immediately went to sleep because we were both immediately, like, emotionally drained. Woke up the next day, and I'm in my car, and I'm driving to rehearsal, or I'm driving somewhere, Tesco, I think, maybe, like a Kroger's, and I can't believe that I caved. I was kicking myself all day. I was so ashamed that I caved. And I was just like, how could I do that? After years and years of getting the determination and the courage to do that, the courage to end a shit relationship where I was being used, clearly being used, I caved and potentially started everything back up again for who knows how long this could have gone on for. So I was like, do you know what? No. Don't think that. Maybe the shock of this, the fear of the fact that I was so fed up with all of these things that I was no longer willing to argue about them anymore. They were now relationship ending problems. I am out for the rest of the day.
Did he bring up anything related to sex at all?
I can't help it.
Show transcript.
I'm not doing it because I'm an asshole. I'm doing it because her paintings on Etsy or something like that. Didn't fancy doing that either. So she didn't want to clean. She didn't want to work. And then we get into the romantic aspects of the relationship. I have a very, very, very high sex drive. I'm ready to go all the time. And my love language is intimacy. It's touch. And when I realized that I was no longer being touched and no longer being physically appreciated, I asked if she could do that. She said she would work on it. She didn't. So I developed this extremely damaging complex, these nasty, deep-rooted insecurities that came out of, why doesn't my girlfriend want to touch me? Why is it that if I don't initiate it, it never happens?
Okay. I feel like she went way too far, but she probably had some right to talk about a few things. But he's kind of bringing it up. Although he's talking about it a lot more candidly, or less candidly than she was.
And that's true. It didn't happen for a year because I didn't try. I stopped initiating, and we didn't do it for a year, and it didn't seem to bother her at all. So then I developed a really deep-rooted insecurity about, the length of my neck and my height and the shape of every limb on my body. Trying to get skinny, or no, trying to get muscly. That's what she would probably want. No, let's go skinny. Maybe that'll work. Did everything I could. Became obsessed with the gym. Became obsessed with food and diet. Tried everything I could to try and look as good as I possibly could, to try and see if I could somehow become what it was that she was clearly not getting out of the person that I was. Nothing ever seemed to work. So I clearly wasn't physically attractive enough for her. I clearly wasn't respectable enough for her to want to do literally anything for me, like changing the litter box for the cat that she begged me to get. I didn't want a cat, but Kaya wanted a cat. So we get a cat. Usually how things worked. Wouldn't do the dishes. I'd do the dishes. Wouldn't sort through her clothes. I had to sort through her clothes. Wouldn't pick up any of the trash. I had to do that. I had to literally clean up around her while she was lying down. If someone ever said, like, what is the most consistent image you have of Kaya from your 11-year relationship?
Trash.
My most consistent image, like if someone asked me to paint my relationship, how I saw Kaya in the relationship, it was her lying down in bed with a laptop. It was pretty much her permanent state. It's literally what she did. Surrounded by Monster cans and food from various different places like McDonald's and KFC, probably one of those places. Sushi containers. And I'd have to go in, pick all that stuff up. And I'm going to tell you now that got worse. It didn't get better. It got worse. So I was having to deal with all these kinds of things. I was extremely stressed out. I had no support network at all. I didn't have any friends to confide in emotionally. Kaya was not emotionally available to talk to me about anything. I remember the most depressed I ever got. And I just felt so alone, man. I felt so alone.
Who put out all this idiotic shit for it? Yeah, I don't know. What?
I had to pull...
Okay, I got a better handle on this. Okay, this is the longest viewer calling ever. Where are you? Okay.
Hello.
Jesus Christ. Wait, where the fuck are you from also?
I'm from Germany.
Gotcha, okay. What? Okay, these people, this just seems like a clusterfuck of shit.
Yeah.
Why would you want to enter anything into the testimony here for at all? Why not just say fuck it?
No, it's because, like, you saw Jake's video.
A little bit, yeah.
And it's way more condensed, and he is responding to people who, like, left things on his videos. Like, he didn't respond to the relationship at all in the year. Like, he said he didn't want to put that on the internet, and he didn't. But she did.
So who made the first video?
He did.
Okay, so then it sounds like he's the one that brought it on himself then, no?
Yes and no. It's because I was going through her videos before that. Like, he made a video a year ago where he said it's over, I don't want to talk about it. And he didn't. He didn't bring it up. He didn't said anything about it. And she, in literally every video I watched, I think 2 videos, she didn't know, 1 video she didn't talk about it. Like, not even anything. But in the other videos, she, like, brought little things that could paint a narrative. And that's why everyone hates Jake. And that's what drove him to make this video a year later. So he's basically just defending himself.
Okay, gotcha.
And she made this 3-hour video, and I'm glad you reacted the way I reacted, because I thought I was crazy.
Well, I will say she seems more crazy, but he seems a little crazy too.
Yeah, he is.
He
probably is, and he probably didn't do everything right in his video.
Sure, but it sounds like a relationship that was just kind of shitty for both parties. But I don't know why she felt the need to be making huge videos about it or whatever.
Yeah, and then let me explain this. He took his video down. Said on Instagram, okay, let's roll this shit back. Let's don't talk about it anymore. Let us wipe it from the internet.
Okay.
And she said, I'm glad you did. I'm not going to. Like, basically, I can link you the Instagram stories.
Okay. Sounds like he probably should have gotten the okay from her before he just assumed that she'd be okay with it, but okay. Rookie mistake.
He made she blocked him on everything before he even made his video. So he was like in his Instagram story. Wait, I give you the Instagram stories. 1 second.
Wait, I don't care enough to look at all these. I'll take your
okay,
word
you
for it.
don't care enough.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it. Okay.
Okay. He said, okay, here is I took mine down. I give you, like, why don't you take yours down? like 10 minutes or something, or 25 minutes. If you're not doing that, I'm gonna put mine back up, basically. Everyone took it as a countdown, like a threat or something, but he didn't mean it like that. He just wanted to sync it. Like he said, in 25 minutes, I'm taking mine down, take yours down, so, no. And she didn't. She said basically, no, my video became bigger than me and my story.
Okay.
That's something I hate too. Like, and the coverage basically is, fuck Jake, poor Toxic Tears, poor Kaya. And I'm like, nobody is really getting into it and really trying to paint a good narrative. Like, I don't want to bash her because she's not a bad person in my opinion. But I think nobody is really trying to get Jake's side.
Yeah, but I mean I think this is, unfortunately, I think this is just going to be a gendered thing, just because of how it's presented.
And that's the thing why I like drama stuff, because it's the broader topic. We could talk about that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you can do that, but I don't know if you're going to win anybody over to your side on this particular type of drama, but...
I don't know either. But basically, I only wanted some advice how to get onto the topic. I know it's not your kind of tea. But
Okay,
thank you for reacting.
Yeah, good luck.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Jesus.